Mars is squaring Saturn, bringing frustrations, obstacles, and roadblocks that have the potential to squash our momentum and stop us dead in our tracks just when we thought we were finally moving forward full steam ahead. Because the upcoming full moon in Gemini is so closely aligned with this transit, this won't be feeling anything like your typical Gemini full moon. Instead of enhancing communication, curiosity, and adaptability, this full moon is going to bring up emotional roadblocks that will leave us feeling stuck. On an interpersonal level, this full moon in Gemini can bring up unexpected arguments and disputes from opposing forces that aim to prevent us from accomplishing our goals. And on a more tangible material level, this activation of the Mars square to Saturn represents physical hurdles to achieving our goals, resulting from too many options and not enough follow through. In this video, I'll be covering the astrology for the full moon in Gemini, the Mars-Saturn square, and the energy for the entire waning phase of the lunar cycle from November 27th through December 11th. But before we get into all of that, I want to remind you how to make the best possible use of the free astrology insight I'm providing for you today. So, in case you are new to my channel or need a refresher, my name is Heather Eland with astrologywithheather.com. I'm a professional astrologer and I teach astrology. I release a new astrology forecast or tutorial every single Saturday at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an important astrology update. And the way that I structure my forecast is I always begin with a 10 to 15 minute general overview of the energy for the next 2 weeks ahead. Please don't skip this because this part of the video provides important context for what we're going to be covering in your forecast for your sign. Speaking of which, when we do get into the forecast for all 12 signs, make sure you listen to your rising sign, your sun sign, and your moon sign to get a more holistic overview of the energy for the next 2 weeks ahead. Your rising sign will be the most predominant energy, your sun sign will be secondary, and your moon sign is important to listen to as well, although this energy will be more internalized and subjective. Finally, at the end of each video, I give a 2 to 3 minute sneak preview of what to expect in our next forecast, which leads me to kind of a big announcement. So beginning in 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different with our forecasts. I'm super excited about this and hopefully you will be too. So on Saturday, December 9th, I'm going to be releasing my very first super detailed quarterly astrology forecast covering the entire winter here in the northern hemisphere or the summer down in the southern hemisphere. So the entire period from the solstice to the equinox. This video will include an extended presentation on the biggest, most impactful astrological influences lasting from December 21st, 2023, all the way through March 19th of 2024. And of course, I'm also going to be including an all signs forecast for the entire winter season so you can plan and prepare for what's ahead. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, you guys, because this is a video you won't want to miss. We're going to be covering a lot of ground. This is something that you can come back to time and time again through the entire season from, again, the solstice to the equinox. And you'll get a lot of information for planning ahead, especially for the start of the new year. And so I'm excited about that. Let me know if you're excited about it down in the comment section below. But moving on to the general forecast, as I mentioned at the start of this video, the main event is Mars squaring Saturn, which is actually exact on November 25th, which is the day that this video is being released on YouTube. So if you're watching this on the day that it is put out there into the public, it is happening right now, you guys. This energy is a very potent, very frustrating energy. The two malefic influences, Saturn and Mars, are coming together in the most challenging aspect they could possibly be making, which is a square. This energy is also going to be super potent at the time of the full moon. And the full moon in Gemini is going to be making a T-square to the Mars and Saturn influence. So this is going to be illuminating this powerful, super frustrating energy. And the full moon, just to remind you guys, is coming exact on the 26th? No, the 27th of November. And so we have this period here of several days where the frustration, the intensity, that pent up, like hitting a wall sort of energy is going to be at its most potent. And so with Mars and Saturn in the mutable signs, and especially with Saturn in Pisces, something could come up very quickly and suddenly, even right now today, that causes us all to have our have to adjust our boundaries, and do so very quickly. And this is because Saturn in Pisces brings up boundary issues very heavily. It's about where we've been too lax and too mutable in our boundaries with ourselves, with other people, with our goals and aspirations too, where we're not setting appropriate kind of restrictions and rules, and we're not being disciplined enough with ourselves. But it also shows us where we're not being disciplined enough in other areas of our lives, where we're not setting appropriate boundaries and rules with other people in our lives or with situations in our lives. It could even be as simple as not setting appropriate boundaries with work and having a good work-life balance. The way this shows up, of course, is going to depend on how it's aligned in your birth chart, which we'll get into in the forecast for all 12 signs in just a few minutes here. But basically, this is about making adjustments, and it's going to come up very hard and very fast. It's like we thought we were moving forward with all sorts of different plans and goals all over the place. And suddenly, Mars comes in, and a situation, an event, something comes up that blocks us and stops us dead in our tracks. Luckily, the mutable signs are all about making adjustments. And so even though this energy is a lot of pressure and a lot of hesitation and a lot of frustration, and we do have to stop and slow our roll, we'll be able to more easily adjust and pivot and do what we need to do because this is in the mutable signs. It's kind of like, for a lot of people, we don't want to adjust. We don't want to give anything up. We don't want to assert our boundaries, but we have to. And this Mars square to Saturn makes that apparent, and the full moon energy brings even more to the surface. So this is bringing emotional internal roadblocks up to the surface and illuminating this Mars square Saturn conflict that we're all going to be having. And so with the full moon, because it is a moon, a lunar energy, it is an energy of illumination, but it's an emotional, internal energy that's being externalized, right? It's bringing that up into the surface so we can see it through the feedback we're getting from the events that unfold that are resulting from what we've seeded, from what we've started. We're seeing that because it's highlighting the way that our internal reality is impacting our external reality. That's a very full moon thing. And especially with Saturn, which is very real, physical, tangible in the mix, it's going to show us how our emotional internal roadblocks are causing us to hesitate and procrastinate, and that is leading to external manifestations of things that are coming up that are obstacles, that are frustrating, that we can't quite handle. And so this full moon in Gemini is the perfect time to ask yourself, where am I allowing fear and hesitation to block me from moving forward? Or how am I getting in my own way? What excuses am I making for not adjusting my boundaries in the way I know I need to? Because this is a lot about what you're feeling and doing on the inside and how that's creating a mess on the outside through your actions, through your decisions. Speaking of decisions, indecision is another big keyword for this full moon. With all of this mutable energy, if we've been wavering when it comes to choosing a concrete direction or plan for achieving our goals, it'll become readily apparent. If you've been spreading yourself too thin or telling yourself you're simply multitasking, which I don't believe is a thing, or multi-passionate, instead of picking a lane and sticking with it, the full moon is going to show you the very unfortunate results of your flakiness and indecisiveness. If you are all over the place and doing too many things at once, that is all going to come crashing down on you. So you want to make sure that you use this time, because this is highlighting this before it's reaching like this point of culmination, but not this point of no return just yet. And so you want to make sure that you are working very hard to undo the damage, pick a path, and get all of your ducks in a row before the lunar cycle wraps up, which happens on December 12th. So you have a couple of weeks here. Once it's made apparent what is not working and where you need to have better boundaries with yourself and where you need to become more disciplined in pursuit of the work that needs to be done, because Saturn is demanding it in a certain area of your life right now. Once that is apparent, you have a couple of weeks to clean up the mess. And so that's good news, actually, believe it or not. So get all of your ducks in a row before the holidays, because after that, it is kind of the point of no return when it comes to this specific energy and the specific challenges and obstacles that are coming up for you right now around this. And so for some people, the full moon might not bring up like where you've been scattered and all over the place. It might bring up a sudden event or a new piece of information or something that just comes up abruptly that stops you. So it's like this abrupt energy of Mars, which is moving quickly, and then it hits Saturn and it's like, ugh, I can't move anymore. I can't do this. So we just had Mars in opposition to Uranus, which was making very abrupt, quick, chaotic, kind of hasty changes, but changes that in a lot of ways needed to happen. And that came exact on November 11th, but that was super, super potent. The entire, really all of November up until this point. Now it's this energy of like, we were moving, we were going, we were doing all these things. And now it's like, boom, it stops. And it stops for a reason. We've been doing too much. We've been changing too much. We've been going too quickly, and we've been all over the place. And so it could be not necessarily that you are indecisive and you're scattering and spreading yourself too thin, but it could be, that you thought you were making these specific changes and going in these different directions, but a sudden event or a new piece of information comes up that causes confusion. It's like confusion about what action to take. There's this big picture energy of, we have Sagittarius, which is all about the big picture. It's all about seeing all of it as a whole. And then we have this energy of Pisces, which is, again, very interconnected. It's about everything mushed all together. You can't discern in the sign of Pisces, and Saturn's requiring us to be discerning when it's not supported in doing so. And so this energy is going to kind of bring up the need to narrow things down and have appropriate boundaries with your time, energy, and relationships. So it's not that, one thing comes up and you just dive into that and you tackle that challenge. It's like several things come up and you don't know what to focus on, but you need to focus on something. You can't do everything. You can't be responsible for everything. And whatever it is that's coming up for you right now is going to show you that and make it readily apparent. If you do try to be responsible for all the things, again, this is an energy where you're going to crash and burn and everything's going to unravel. You're not going to be able to be disciplined enough to achieve your goals, even if you're the most self-disciplined, responsible person that exists on this planet, because you can't do everything for everyone and you can't be everything for everyone and you can't do all the things that you want to do all the time all at once. It's not physically possible. You're only one person. So again, boundaries. That's going to be one of the biggest issues that comes up around this transit. And then finally, beyond this Mars square Saturn, which we're going to dive really deep into in the all signs forecast, at the time of the full moon and into the next couple of weeks, we'll be dealing with another major astrological influence. Venus will be in a conjunction with the South Node in Libra, and this is an eclipse activation, you guys. We just came out of eclipse season in October, November, and this aspect comes exact on. Actually, it was mostly in September, October, but this aspect comes exact on November 29th. But is highly active for the entire second half of November and into the start of December until Venus moves forward into its fall position in Scorpio on December 4th. Luckily, as this is happening, Venus is supported. So this is a supportive energy of Venus, which Venus has to do with, of course, interpersonal connection, the way that we connect and interrelate with other people. It has to do with things that are very physical, tangible. And in the sign of Libra, it's especially connected to fairness, equality, and balance. And so any area of our lives where we have become off kilter and out of balance, that's going to be highlighted by this energy of the South Node conjunct Venus in Libra. And we're going to need to purge and let go of something. This is an energy of unraveling and letting go in order to create better balance. If something new is coming into the mix, it's something new that's actually old. It's from our past, or, it could be like a past life connection where it feels really familiar and really right. If that's the case, then it is a bringing something into the mix. But this is more, to me, especially because of the other things I'm about to talk about, an energy of purging and releasing in order to make space and in order to have the ability to kind of control what's going on in a different way. So basically what's happening here is that the lunar nodes are still making a pretty tight T-square with Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. And this is an aspect that's been going on for many, many months now, since the summer of this year. And so this indicates that there could be an emotionally or a psychologically intense situation that comes up around this karmic, this interpersonal, this energy of balance in relationships. And it's a situation that requires you to purge something or someone that you've become very attached to. When Pluto's in the mix, it's difficult to let go because we have formed very strong internal psychological and emotional attachments to something. And when we're looking at Venus, the most obvious thing, of course, is a relationship or a connection with somebody else. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that. Venus rules all things pleasurable. It's how we experience pleasure and joy. It's also this energy of relaxation and kicking back. And it's the most kind of relaxed energy of the entire planetary spectrum in astrology. And so it could be that we've been a little too lax in some area of our lives. We have to let go of a vice or something that we do for pleasure. It could very literally be letting go of a sexual relationship too. Like that's not very connected anymore on other levels, where it's like, I kind of have to let this go. It's just for pleasure, but it's not necessarily going somewhere or helping me. It's kind of becoming toxic beyond that. It could be letting go of really anything that you are doing or overdoing, like any vice that you have that is causing or creating imbalance in some area of your life and causing it to unravel in some way. So this is a big energy. It's super important. You definitely need to pay attention to this in addition to what's going on with Saturn and Mars, because it's really the bigger energy for these next couple of weeks. So for Aries and for Aries rising, this full moon in the sign of Gemini is in your third house, and it's highlighting this Mars-Saturn square, which is calling on you to break free from stuck, stale, stagnant, internal, subconscious, and unconscious energies through an exploration of the mind, through getting out there in the world, through higher education or changing your perspective on something. There's something going on here where your perspective on the world around you, your religious, philosophical, ideological belief systems are in conflict with this kind of stuckness. There's like something here that you need to change very quickly and very abruptly. You need to pick a lane when it comes to your spiritual and religious beliefs and value systems. Otherwise, it's almost as if there are too many cooks in the kitchen or too many conflicting viewpoints that are vying for your attention, that are vying for your decision-making powers. And so you want to make sure that you're very clear on what it is that you believe and what's most important to you when it comes to your beliefs and aligning your actions and your subconscious reality even with your integrity. The other thing that's going on here could be that there is like something that comes up rather abruptly around an educational opportunity or around a travel pursuit, where there's something going on behind the scenes, maybe in secret even, that's preventing you from actually going all in and taking advantage of those opportunities. If that's the case, it's not about maybe not doing the thing at all. It's more about narrowing it down. Maybe you want to enter into like 5 different courses all at once. Maybe you want to travel everywhere in the world. Maybe you want to travel while you're in school. There's too much. There's too much happening all at once here, it looks like. This full moon is actually an interesting time for you to connect with your community and connect with people around you, to do some exploration in your more immediate environment. By doing that, that's going to illuminate or highlight kind of the path that you need to take moving forward when it comes to your education, when it comes to your beliefs, and when it comes to any travel plans that are coming up now and into the future. And communication and connection with your community and with, again, the people around you. This is a good way to get you internally unstuck. So maybe even connecting with a group of like-minded people that share similar philosophical or religious or spiritual beliefs. I think that could help get you kind of stuck, like out of being stuck in a rut here. But for the most part for Aries, this isn't that big of an energy. It's not super physical or super tangible. It's not going to be as challenging or detrimental as it will be for some of the other signs, especially because the full moon itself will be in sextile with your ascendant sun or moon. If you're an Aries rising, it's going to be in trine with your descendant or descendant sign. This Mars energy as well is making positive aspects to your ascendant sun or moon, and it's the ruler of your ascendant sun or moon. And so that's some really beautiful reception that you have going on there. And so overall, this could be a time of empowerment for you where something's highlighted, where there's a minor, internal, especially like a minor internal blockage that you need to work on or work through in order to pave the way and to initiate and accomplish whatever it is that you want to initiate or accomplish right now. So for you, the roadblocks are a little bit less overt, they're more minor, and they're a lot easier to kind of move through and move past than for some of the other signs. So that's good for you, Aries. All right. And then for Taurus and for Taurus rising, there is something coming up here in the area of finance and friendship. So there has been already this energy with Saturn in the 11th house that's having you call into question your current friendships. Are they stable? Are these people responsible? Are they loyal? Are they somebody who you can count on? Like, is this a really grounded, rooted friendship that's going to stand the test of time? Or is this like a fair weather friend that's just there as a drinking buddy? You're weeding out the latter right now. And there's something that could be coming up for you, financially even, that can help you to do that even further, where it's very apparent that the weight of these relationships, these social connections that you've made, are more trouble than they're worth. And maybe you need to stop splitting your time amongst different groups or organizations. Maybe you need to stop splitting your energy and attention amongst so many friends and narrow it down and focus more on the people that you know are really solid and that are going to be there for the long term. The other thing going on here is that this full moon might be highlighting some sort of abrupt energy around a financial blockage or a financial difficulty that comes through an outside source. So it could be that, your partner all of a sudden comes into the mix and shuts something down, or his or her income changes. There could be something that comes up rather abruptly around a debt. So it could be that you forgot about something that you owe money on, or all of a sudden it's becoming more stressful or strenuous. Like maybe it's gone into collections and you have to address it. You have to actually deal with it. Maybe you've been spreading yourself too thin financially and you need to just focus on one thing, which is like paying off this debt or getting your ducks in a row with your investments or with your taxes or, with your joint finances with your partner. There could be conflict and dispute around finances with friends or with partnerships. And so whatever it is that's coming up right now, it's coming up so you can see it and so you can work on resolving it, because it's going to require hard work. But first, you're going to have to get past this initial hurdle and this initial roadblock, and that's going to require a lot of intense focus. It's going to require you to pivot or change your plans in some way. And it's going to require a lot of self-discipline to kind of push past whatever it is that's coming up for you right now. I will say that the other thing going on for Taurus that's kind of interesting is this energy around letting go of some sort of imbalance when it comes to your health, especially, or when it comes to your work and your day-to-day work and health routines. There's some indulgence going on here that needs to be purged, or there could be some toxic relationships in the work environment that need to be purged as well. Okay, for Gemini and for Gemini rising. So for Geminis, this energy of the full moon is happening in your sign. Normally, this would be, a little bit happier and more exciting, a very social time for Geminis. However, there's some sort of stagnant energy going on in the area of career and public reputation. It's whatever it is that you're putting out in the world at large has stalled out, or it feels like it's not moving forward like it once was. You have to work much harder to accomplish the same results. You have to work much harder to accomplish your biggest goals, your biggest plans when it comes to your career and what it is that you're putting out there into the world at large. And this becomes even more apparent into this full moon energy. And even right now as I'm, sharing this with you, because Mars is squaring Saturn. And with that Mars square to Saturn, there's a conflict going on, an interpersonal conflict that's bringing up a really important blockage when it comes to your career, when it comes to you achieving your goals, when it comes to you rising to a position of authority even. Or it could be that your relationship with somebody in a position of power and authority comes up and abruptly stops you in your tracks. Like you felt like you were finally gaining momentum and moving forward with something, and all of a sudden, nope, not anymore. You have the big boss to deal with, or you have the government to deal with, or you have this person up here to deal with. And it's almost like you just want to get it over with. You just want to push forward, but you can't. You have to go through and you have to work through it the right way. You have to work through resolving this conflict the right way and not the fast way. It could also be that there is a conflict with your actual marriage partner or long-term, relationship partner that is preventing you from focusing on putting in the work that you need to put in order to accomplish your biggest career goals. And you realize that you need to stop splitting your attention and you need to really focus and double down. And maybe the relationship is getting in the way, or the dynamic needs to change because the dynamic is getting in the way. Because this is in your sign, you are being highlighted. So you might be front and center, you might be center stage, but it's almost as if that is being overshadowed by interpersonal conflict and this stalling out of career goals. It's stalling out not because you're not going to be able to move forward, but because there's something that you've been maybe plowing ahead with that you need to take your time with, that you need to pivot on. Maybe you've been focusing on too many things all at once when it comes to your career, and you need to narrow it down. That could be part of what you need to adjust and adapt to moving forward with your career. I will say that the other thing going on here is that you have Venus with the South Node, coming into a conjunction in your 5th house. That's actually not bad for Geminis. So especially if you're a Gemini sun, moon, or rising near the end degrees, I would say anywhere from, let's say 16 to 26, 27 degrees, this is going to be hitting you in a more positive way than all of the other Geminis. And this is really a really good time for you to bring back into the mix something that you felt deeply passionate about, that you love to do, that brought you so much joy, that you have let fall by the wayside. So this is about bringing something back in that connects you to your heart, that connects you to your creativity, that brings more pleasure and passion into your world. And it's something from the past. It's something that you're bringing back around. And this is of faded importance in some way. Something about what you're bringing back in is going to usher you into something brand new moving forward that is important for your soul's evolution, your soul's growth. And so, yeah, I like that part for Gemini. So you have kind of a mixed energy coming up these next couple of weeks. All right. And then for Cancer and for Cancer rising. So for Cancer, this full moon is happening in your 12th house, which is the hidden house. It's the house of secrets coming to light. It's interesting because you have this energy here of Saturn squaring Mars. Mars is in your 6th house of health, work, and daily routines. For some of you, there could be work-related gossip. If you are the gossip, that's going to come out. If someone else is gossiping, that's going to come out. So that could be something that could be interesting, that could have light shed on it. And so if you are somebody who's prone to gossiping, and you're talking crap about your coworkers, that's going to come back to haunt you. So you want to, be aware of that. And the reason it's going to be coming back to haunt you is because it's not in alignment with your integrity. That is that Saturn square. There also could be something going on in the workplace or in your work or in your day-to-day work habits and routines in general that's not aligned with your integrity. It's not aligned with your values and your beliefs. And you have to either do one of two things. You have to stop doing it or you have to be willing to adapt your value systems and your beliefs about the world and what's right and what's wrong and what's right for you in order to accommodate for this thing that you've been doing. And so it's kind of looking at, is this helping you or hurting you? And, if it's helping you, maybe you need to adjust the way that you think or feel about something. Yeah. And also for health stuff could be coming up for you over the next couple of weeks, Cancer. I would say that it's either an acute activation of something chronic, or it's something that just comes up really quickly that's more acute, like you get a cold or a flu or, something like that. If that is the case, not everyone's going to have health issues come up. It really depends on your own personal chart and so many other things in the astrology. But this is one manifestation that could be the case. There could also be either travel plans that you want to go forward with that your work is preventing you from doing, or work that you want to accomplish that travel plans are preventing you from doing. So you might have to, again, adjust. Like maybe you cancel the travel plans, maybe you make them shorter, or maybe you have to compromise in the sense that you have to take some time off work or unload a project and delegate. So all of these things could be potentials for Cancer. And when it comes to the Venus energy, with the South Node, this is happening in your fourth house, which is the house of home, family, property, real estate. There's something going on, like some sort of indulgence or imbalance going on in your home life and in your day-to-day living situation, or with your property or your home itself, that you really need to cut ties with, especially if it's a contractual agreement or an interpersonal relationship with a family member that you're realizing is toxic. It's not serving you, but you've been holding on to it because of just a certain sense of it's like it's comfortable for you and you have grown attached to that person, that thing, that situation. Now is the time to move on, so that way you can kind of move into bigger and better things in the future. For Leo and for Leo rising, this full moon energy is happening in your 11th house, which is a very social energy. And for you in particular, this full moon is hitting you a lot more nicely than it is for some other people. And so even though it's highlighting the Mars square to Saturn, it's also going to be in a sextile with your ascendant sun or moon, and in a trine with your descendant if you are a Leo rising, and especially if you are a beginning degree Leo between 0 and 10 degrees. This is going to be hitting you mostly in a very positive way. I will say that there could be some sort of conflict coming up between your financial situation and what you do for pleasure and for fun. It's kind of like there's something that you want to move forward with that you feel very passionate about, that's really exciting, that's really creative, that you just really want to do because it's going to bring you so much joy, but the finances aren't there, or your partner says, no, we can't spend all that money on that. There's some sort of blockage going on in the way of either financial partnership or debt or taxes or something along those lines that kind of shut it down. This could also be something you want to move forward with your children. So it could be that you want to go, take a vacation or do something fun with your kids. Something comes up spontaneously. But again, there's something going on either with joint finances or power and control issues. So it could even be that you are, a parent who is divorced and your co-parent says, no, you can't do that. Like, that's my weekend for the kids or something like that. So there could be some sort of dispute that comes out into the open that you might need to deal with or address there, or you might need to change kind of the terms of the agreement when it comes to the way that you deal with your children, and especially children and finances. There is an energy here of socializing that for Leos in particular, that could actually be quite good. So for most signs, even though this is a Gemini full moon, it's not the best for socializing because you're going to be more prone to conflict. And there is still a conflict energy here, but because it's aligning with your ascendant sun or moon and potentially your descendant so nicely, this could be a really beautiful time for you to get out there, or to at least get advice from a friend. So connecting with your friends, connecting with your social networks, connecting with groups of people who get it and get you can help pull you out of a funk and pull you out of that stuck, stagnant energy financially, when it comes to your creative passions, when it comes to any issues or disputes or power struggles involving your children, all of it. So that's an area where you can kind of lean into, especially at the time of the full moon in Gemini on the 27th of November. The other thing going on here is, of course, Venus is in a really tight conjunction with the South Node, and that's going to be coming exact, pretty quickly after this full moon. And so this energy is better for Leos too. Like, Leos are doing all right. I know I said a lot of stuff like that sounded pretty intense and harsh and crazy at the start of this video, for context, because overall that's what we're experiencing. But for Leos, it's not so bad. So especially if you're a Leo, ascendant, sun, or moon near the end degrees, you get good energy from Venus and from the South Node. So good fated karmic energy around relationships and balance and harmony and pleasure and joy and all of those things. So even if there's a blockage in one area, there's an opening in another. And so for you, this is a really important time to this is like clearing up or clearing out old connections and communications, or old connections with your community that no longer serve you, and they'll kind of fall away pretty easily, I would say. This could also be bringing back old ideas, or again, old connections, and collaborations and, friendships with people in your immediate environment that you need to bring back into the mix, because there's a fated purpose behind it. There is a reason that you need to reconnect with this person and bring them back into your life in some way. And if that is the case, it'll feel really important. Like there's a sense of, this is what I need to do, even if it doesn't make sense in the moment. And that's going to help, again, remove a lot of blockages. There could be something that comes in for you involving a really pleasurable experience with travel, especially short distance travel. And if that is, it's like to a place that you have some sort of like fated connection to. And yeah, there's like a healing that could take place as a result of going to that location. All right, and then for Virgo and for Virgo rising. So for Virgo, this energy of the full moon is happening in your 10th house, which is the house of career, public reputation, the legacy that you leave behind after your working years. It's the house of things that you put out into the world for the public to see, consume, benefit from, etc. And so that's going to be highlighted at the time of this full moon, of course. But what's really going on here is a lot of tension beneath the surface, and that tension could be preventing you from moving forward with your biggest career goals and plans, and that will become very, very apparent at the time of this full moon. It could also be that you are the one blocking yourself from, again, your career goals and plans because you're so focused or fixated on maybe fixing something in a relationship that isn't fixable, especially a family relationship. You could be so focused on, a lot of difficulty and chaos and all this work that you need to put in behind the scenes when it comes to your home, your living situation, your family dynamic in some way. And you're realizing, like, I need to pull myself out of this. I need to stop using that as an excuse to not achieve my goals. This also highlights the need to work on or work through something in a relationship. This could be a time of conflict in your partnerships, especially if you are a Virgo ascendant, sun, or moon. Anywhere from 0 to 10 degrees, especially those first 5 degrees, it is a tense energy. You're going to be feeling like wound up, like you were finally moving forward with things and it was going really well for you, even maybe in your relationships, and all of a sudden you just hit a roadblock and it feels like you're trapped in a box, but you want to move forward, but you can't because you have to deal with this person and this responsibility you've taken on, and you have to create better boundaries in your partnership and better boundaries with your family and better boundaries in the home. And it's a lot of work. And so that could be something that's coming up for you too. There could also be like literally something that happens very abruptly in your home. Like it could be as simple as something breaks and, there is some sort of contract around it that you need to renegotiate, or that you need to really assert boundaries around. Like, this was the agreement, this broke, you need to fix it. Like that kind of thing. Like it's under warranty. And so it could be something as simple as that too. But for Virgos, the energy around Venus conjunct the South Node is happening in your 2nd house, which is the house of money, finances, and material possessions. There is an indulgence that you have been indulging in when it comes to your money and the way that you spend and utilize your money. Even though it's something that feels comfortable, it feels good, you like it in the moment, it's creating an imbalance financially, and it's actually preventing you in some way from moving forward with something that you're really passionate about, that you want to create, that you want to kind of move into. There could also be power and control issues or power struggles involving finances that come up over these next couple of weeks, and that can show you that there's something that you need to let go of in terms of a dynamic or relationship with your money and the other people involved with your money. But yeah, there's something here that it's like you need to shed and let go of some sort of connection involving your finances or some sort of spending habit, especially that is really sucking your money and bringing you down. Just because it feels good doesn't mean it's necessarily good for you in the long term. Okay. And then for Libra and for Libra rising. So for Libras, this full moon is happening in your ninth house, which is the house of travel and adventure and your ideals and your belief systems about God, the universe, the world around you, the perspective that you have that frames your reality. And, that is a big thing that's coming up for you. And overall, for Libras, this is a nicer energy with the full moon at least than it is for some of the other signs because it's trining your ascendant sun or moon. And so if you especially have your ascendant sun or moon anywhere between 0 and 10 degrees in the sign of Libra, especially those first 5 degrees, you're going to be feeling this in a way that's very beneficial. You're going to be feeling energized and amped up and ready to take action. There is something that is weighing on you when it comes to either your health, the roles and responsibilities you've taken on as a caregiver, or your day-to-day work habits and routines that's really preventing you from expanding and from maybe having an adventure, traveling for the holidays, something along those lines, right? And you need to assert boundaries. Like there's an energy here of needing better boundaries when it comes to your health, your work, or maybe you've taken on too much responsibility as a caregiver for somebody else and you realize that you need a bit of a break so you can go out and explore, you can travel, you can expand your mind, you can communicate and connect with other people, all of those things. The other thing going on for Libras that is very interesting is that we have the Venus conjunction to the South Node. This is a big one. This is going to be, especially if you're a Libra, ascendant sun or moon, anywhere from 16 to like 26, 27 degrees, you're going to be feeling this pretty intensely, really even to 30 degrees because of that Pluto square to your ascendant sun or moon. There is something that you have personally been indulging in that you need to let go of, like a personal indulgence that feels really good in the moment, very pleasurable, but it's not necessarily good for you. And that's becoming apparent. It's like unraveling something, maybe even in your body. And so you're going to recognize that, you're going to become aware of it. It could also be an attachment to not just something that brings you pleasure, but to an important connection or relationship, especially if you are a Libra ascendant, where it's like, okay, I actually need to move on from this. It's become very toxic. It's become very controlling. Especially if it's a family relationship, this could be like a huge thing where you become attached to this person or this situation or this dynamic, but you realize that you can no longer hold on to this. It needs to end. It's time to let it go. Yeah, a lot of power and control issues, I would say, going on there. And that's what's going on for Libra. Once you move past that, you'll be able to create better, healthier, more adaptive, very fated relationships moving forward. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, this full moon is happening in your 8th house, which is the house of joint finances, taxes, debt, insurance. It's the house of death also, and the house of rebirth. It's a deeply regenerative, restorative, psychological house where a lot of our deepest fears and anxieties tend to dwell. And so not the nicest, funnest energy for this full moon for our Scorpio and Scorpio rising people. But this could highlight something involving fear around money or involving your finances in general. It's kind of like you want to move forward with doing something that seems really exciting, really fun, really playful, really pleasurable to you in some way. And you feel this sense of urgency around doing it, but you are given a roadblock, like you are blocked from moving forward. And the reason for that is probably financial. And so there's something that you need to address when it comes to your finances before you can move forward with those plans for that big purchase, that big investment, that thing that you want to jump into that feels really fun for you. There's something going on here. There could also be a new financial opportunity that comes up around the time of the full moon in particular, involving your partner. So there's like an opportunity that's coming for you in the second house where it's like, I want to push forward with this financial opportunity or with this purchase. But Saturn's like, you have to do it the right way, slow down, and you can't purchase all these things at the same time. You have to like narrow it down and narrow your focus and kind of pivot your plans. But there's something coming up here in the 8th house where maybe a partner's resources are highlighted and they change the dynamic in some way, and that could make it potentially easier to do the things that you want to do, but it also looks like it could be harder. So I would say more likely it's showing you it's more of a blockage than anything else because of the way it's highlighting everything. But it makes it easier for you to understand that blockage and to work on and work through it more effectively, if that makes sense. I know that's a little convoluted, but kind of what I see here is like something coming up in your partner's finances or in an investment or taxes or insurance, maybe an insurance payout, but it's like delayed or something. But whatever it is, it takes time. You have to work on it. It's not going to come all at once. And it helps you to see your way out of, this struggle here financially or this roadblock. But it's not like the full moon happens and you just get it, right? Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. And then the energy of the Libra South Node conjunction, this is more letting go of, I feel like almost it's like you need a lot of rest, but you also need to let go of this. There's like an indulgence in seclusion or an indulgence in spirituality or spiritual practices or an indulgence in maybe sleeping way too much. And, it served you for a time, but you need to kind of move on from that and start putting in some effort, putting in some work. But there could be, this actually to me looks more like a relaxing energy where you do get to indulge in that a little bit more, and indulging in the spiritual, indulging in the metaphysical, indulging in just rest over the next couple of weeks can be very fruitful to you moving forward, so long as you don't overdo it. And yeah, I would say it's kind of the other way around for this one just because it's in the 12th house. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. So for Sagittarius, this full moon energy is happening in your 7th house, which is the house of partnership, relationships, one-on-one connections with people. And so even though that's being highlighted and relationships are kind of at the forefront at the time of the full moon, this entire 2-week period is really bogged down by this Saturn square to Mars. You yourself are feeling agitated. You're feeling this urge to start something, to move forward, to even move your body, but you can't. There's something going on behind the scenes involving your home, your family, your property, even your relationship dynamics that's preventing you from actually doing the thing that you want to do. It's like, I need to take action on this, but I have all this responsibility at home, or I need to take action on this, but my family is counting on me for this. It could also be that you want to take action on something involving your career too, because it really does affect that whole axis, but you can't because, again, you have other responsibilities that you need to take care of first. It's frustrating, but you really do need to do things the right way and the responsible way and set the right foundations before you lunge forward into whatever it is that you're feeling urgency around. It's not as urgent as you think it is. It's more urgent that you do set a plan and work hard toward your goals and take it slow. I love this Venus South Node conjunction for you, though. This is in your 11th house. So if you are a Sagittarius, ascendant, sun, or moon, anywhere from like 16 to like 27, 28 degrees, this is hitting you in a really pleasant, really positive way for your connection. So this is a great time for you to reconnect with friends, networks, group associations, people that you've known from the past that you need to bring back into your life. There's some sort of faded extra importance to reconnecting with people right now, reconnecting with people from your past. It could also be that new connections come in, new friendships come in that feel like you already know them, that feel really familiar, that feel synchronistic in some way. Pay attention to those and don't just let those kind of float by, because that's going to take you somewhere. That's going to lead you to something really important into the future. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising. So for Capricorn, this energy of the full moon in the sign of Gemini, it's happening in your 6th house, which is the house of health, work, daily habits and routines, service, pets, all of those things. And so all of those things, of course, are being highlighted. However, there's something going on behind the scenes. There's like a subconscious or unconscious energy of agitation, or maybe something that actually literally physically demands your attention, involving a 12th house institution. So like a hospital, a rehabilitation center, a prison. I know those aren't the funnest places, but there's like something going on around these hidden institutions, potentially for some people, this isn't going to be for everyone, that demands your attention and that you need to address and that you need to kind of focus on. It's also like a sense of urgency of wanting to like rest and pull back and, do things more creatively, do things more behind the scenes, but you can't. There's like this agitation where there's just no rest going on right now. Even in sleep, I would say for Capricorn rising people, especially, your sleep is probably super disrupted right now. It's like there's a blockage on, you just want to sleep. And Saturn and Mars will not let you sleep. And then the full moon's like, you have all this work to do, actually. Don't sleep. So it's just going to be a busy time for you. I would say that, in addition to this, yeah, it's kind of like there's a lot that you need to do for your work. There's also something coming up for you involving some sort of indulgence or bad habit, or maybe even a close connection with somebody in your career, in your work life. It could even be with a boss or superior, where it's like, yeah, this was good, but I need to move past this. I need to move on from this. I need to kind of, make space for something new. It could also be that an old connection through your work comes back around. If that's the case, then that could be positive. It's something that you need to wrap up and work on or work through in some way, or bring that back into your career in some way, that person. But, for the most part, it's more like there's power and control issues, or a power and control dynamic in the workplace, or especially in your career path, that's throwing things off balance. And there's this sense of just needing to just transform it, purge it, move on from it. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this full moon is happening in your 5th house, which is the house of joy, fun, pleasure, play, children, romance, creativity, creative self-expression, all those good things. So it's a really pleasant energy for the full moon. And in general, for Aquarius, your stuff is not being hit very hard. You have some of the better energies of all the signs for not just the full moon, not just the Saturn square to Mars, but also that South Node conjunction to Venus. And so there's some stuff going on here, though. It's not like it's completely without difficulty. There's been some sort of blockage or roadblock or hesitation or hard work or restriction, limitation, something weighing on you when it comes to your finances. And it's coming up right now. It's coming up in a very abrupt, blunt way. It could be coming up because your friends want to go do something that is expensive and you just don't have the money to do it. It could come up because, your friends are pointing it out in some way, or, their lavish lifestyle is making you feel like inferior because right now you're on a budget or something like that. That could be it. But it could also be that your friends, it's like almost as if you have a connection with somebody who wants to take action on something, but you can't bring yourself to do it, or you can't do it because of those financial blockages or those financial roadblocks. So that's where the conflict is happening. It's not that you can't do it ever. It's just that you can't do it as urgently, as quickly as you might want to. And that could cause conflict amongst you and your friends. But if you are, I would say, an Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising anywhere from 0 to 10 degrees, it's going to be a little easier for you, and you're going to be able to talk it out and work it out with your friends. The other thing, too, that this highlights is the need to kind of step away and do something, especially at the time of the full moon, that's really pleasurable, really fun for you, that kind of brings you away from focusing so much energy and attention on the interpersonal conflict and the financial stuff, because that's going to really benefit you in a lot of ways. It's going to help you to see the path and the way out very easily, just stepping away from it and doing something that you enjoy, going out on the town, going dancing, whatever it is. But also, this is a really beautiful energy for you personally, where connecting with something that you love is going to benefit you health-wise. It's going to benefit you in terms of your outlook. It's going to benefit you also probably financially. The other thing going on here is that you have the South Node conjunction to Venus, and that's happening in your 9th house, which is the house of travel, a connection with people in foreign countries. It's the house of education, especially higher educational pursuits, but it's also the house of your beliefs. So these are your higher level beliefs about God, the universe, the world around you, your philosophical and religious beliefs and ideologies. And this is an energy that aligns you with your integrity. And so when you have the Venus conjunction to the South Node there, there's something, and it's that square to Pluto. There's something that you've been indulging in when it comes to a mindset that feels very good and lovely and comfortable to you. But it's not necessarily serving you. It's actually creating an imbalance in the way that you view and perceive the world. If that's the case, that's something that you need to kind of move past and let go of and purge. There could also be a connection with somebody in a foreign country or at a distance that it's, again, comfortable. You're really attached to that person or that connection, but you need to let go of it. It could also be that there is a teaching or a teacher or a person that you're connected with from a foreign country even, from your past. And the teaching and the teacher doesn't have to be from a foreign country, but it's like something from your past in those areas that you need to bring back around in a very intense way to sort of transform your mindset, your beliefs, your ideals, your learning, your perspective on something. And so that could come up for you too. There could be a fated journey that comes up for you, especially if you're traveling in partnership with somebody. That could be a big thing that could be happening as well. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Maybe even traveling with a family member. That could be it too. And so that's what's going on for Aquarius. And then finally for Pisces and for Pisces rising, this full moon energy is happening in your 4th house, which is the house of home, family, property, real estate. That is an energy being highlighted around the time of the full moon on the 27th. However, your attention and energy and frustration will be focused and centered around removing blockages when it comes to your career, your public reputation, things that you want to put out into the world. There could be an argument, dispute, disagreement that causes personal blockages to your momentum and your ability to be responsible and do what you need to do, coming from the area of the 10th house. So with somebody in a position of power and authority, there's a conflict that is stopping you in your tracks, that's preventing you from moving forward in a lot of different areas of life. And that could feel very frustrating. It's not about just breaking through it and just doing whatever you want to do. It's more about having to put in the work and be responsible, hold up your end of the deal, your end of the responsibilities, work through that conflict very slowly, methodically. It's not going to happen overnight. But when it does, then you'll be able to have the green light to start building what you want to build for yourself to succeed out in the world. And so that's going to be a big energy. Really over these next couple of weeks, it probably already is a little bit of a big energy. There's also a heaviness on your ascendant. So when you have Saturn transit your ascendant, it feels like you're more pessimistic, you're more like lackluster, you don't have as much energy to do things. And there's like these demands right now up in the 10th house of your career that you're like, I can't. Like you're procrastinating, you're hesitating, you just don't feel like you can get the momentum going. But in this particular case, you have to. Like you are your own worst enemy when it comes to preventing yourself from achieving what you want to achieve right now. So it's not just that other people are out there blocking you. That could be part of it. But you are absolutely hesitating, procrastinating, and preventing yourself from moving forward as well. So look at your role in whatever hurdles, whatever roadblocks, whatever challenges are coming up for you. It doesn't mean that they're your fault. It doesn't mean that it's all you, but what is your role? And even if it is completely external to you, what can you work on? Because this is about taking responsibility for your role and what you can do about it. Even if it's a lot of hard work, even if it feels, like it's not going to make even a dent in anything, you have to try, you have to work, you have to do it, right? And that is, Saturn in the 1st house is all about self-responsibility. So that's a big theme at the time of this full moon. There could be conflict and weird stuff that comes up with family. But your family could also help give you a sense of perspective on what's going on, and that can help you to remove blockages and move forward a lot more quickly, I would say too. Finally, the South Node conjunction to Venus is happening in your 8th house. There is something going on here involving potentially an investment that maybe isn't working out or is draining your finances. I would say, yeah, there's something going on, like a financial drain, or it could be like a joint financial venture, like in partnership with somebody. It could be like your partner draining your resources, being indulgent right now. Whatever it is, it's time to kind of let that go, to move past it, to cut cords with that, to cut ties. There could be an old way or an old method of investing or utilizing your resources that you might need to bring back into the mix. And that could be the case as well. But for the most part, this is kind of about moving on and getting rid of any excesses, any indulgences, any imbalances that come through your joint financial connections with others. And that's going to help you to propel forward when it comes to your goals, your financial plans, what you want to create for your financial future. And so, yeah, that is what's going on for Pisces. All right. And so as I mentioned at the start of this video, the next forecast is actually going to be the Mercury retrograde forecast. That should be out probably next week, maybe a little bit after that, we'll see. But the next big forecast that I'm going to be doing for you guys is going to be a 3-month forecast covering the entire winter season in the Northern Hemisphere and the summer season in the South. So make sure that you're subscribed to my channel because you won't want to miss this video. This is a 3-month period that starts during the Mercury retrograde through Capricorn and Sagittarius, which again we'll be discussing in detail in another forecast, probably being released next week. But on December 28th, so once we get into that period on the 21st, we have a few big things happening. So Mars is going to square Neptune, which unfortunately does have a tendency to heat things up on the world stage in a very strange, jarring, and sometimes violent way. This is where weird stuff, intense stuff happens, but there's a lot of weirdness or strangeness or confusion around it. And that's how it can show up in our own lives too. Hopefully not in a violent way. That's not what I'm suggesting, but it's kind of like something happens and there's an immediacy and an intensity around it. And we have a really hard time pinning it down. What the heck is going on? What move should we make? What direction should we take? It makes it very hard to make very decisive actions around this time. And so we'll talk a lot about that. And then at the end of January, Pluto actually moves forward into Aquarius once again. This brings intensity, empowerment, and transformative energy, especially to the fixed signs. And so this energy is going to quickly be highlighted by Mercury, Venus, and Mars throughout the entire month of February. And this is going to serve to show us exactly what this energy is all about this year, both on a personal and a global scale. So we're revisiting the energy of Pluto in Aquarius in a bigger way. And this is going to be a time when Pluto exposes things, you guys. And so, think about all of the shadow energies of the Aquarian influence. So think the shadow side or the bad side of maybe AI technology or the new kind of global technocracy that it's starting to become. Think about things like scientific dogma. That's very Pluto and Aquarius. These new world order types of themes that people talk about in the conspiracy communities. These things are going to be exposed for everyone with eyes to see it, especially in February. There's going to be a lot of interesting news coming out. And the way this impacts us on a personal level really depends on how this is laid out in our charts. And so, of course, I'll be talking about this for all the signs in this 3-month forecast. So again, subscribe for that. But then March, the kind of end of that quarter, that period, is when things really heat up as we come into our first eclipse season. And Mars makes its 3rd quarter square to Uranus and Taurus. So both of these influences are bringing out the next phase of the massive abrupt disruption and change that occurred in the fall of this year, because we had an eclipse season that we just finished. And we also had Mars opposing Uranus, which just finished. And both of these were very disruptive, intense influences. And they're coming back around in new ways in the spring. So think about all of the things that have been changing for you over the past couple of months, especially the things that happened very abruptly and suddenly and unexpectedly. And the next phase of that. So it's kind of we get to see where that's going, but we also are probably going to have some more changes in store along those threads and themes. And so we'll talk all about this on December 9th. And in the meantime, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like this video, like it, subscribe to my channel, share this with your friends if you feel like they could benefit from the information I shared with you today, and I will see you very soon.